You are listening to The Ben Keech Show, where every day the objective is simple. Ben will never stop fighting the fight and lighting the light on topics that affect you every day.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, boys and girls. Speaking today from the great city of Kansas City. Hope your life is going great. You are successful in all your financial adventures. Your job is going well, because today we're going to be talking about money. And we're going to talk about how money works and how politicians and the government can twist what we think or what we see, and even educators as well. And of course the media, they're always corrupt when it comes to how they decide to what they decide to teach and how they spin things. So lots of controversy today, some different ideas. The name of episode 20 is What's Wrong with Trickle Down Economics? Trickle Down Economics. And I chose that phrase for a specific reason. Some of you may not. What the heck is trickle down economics? What does that mean? We'll define it, don't worry. But this is going to be a topic today that deals a lot with capitalism and money and government and who gets to take your money and how much, and all of those fascinating topics that are under taught to our children and are warped in how they're presented by so many folks. So trickle down economics. Let's start with this was a phrase that was coined by Ronald Reagan when he was president in the 1980s. Well, maybe not coined by him, but we'll just say made popular and used by him. And so the idea is very simple. When it comes to the rich, we're going to talk a lot about the rich today. When it comes to the rich, when it comes to corporations, bigger businesses that employ thousands of people, when it comes to giving them a break on their taxes, reducing their taxes, the idea of trickle-down economics is that over time, that reduction, the benefits of that reduction, work its way down through the middle class and to even people in poverty. That when the government takes more of their money, it actually becomes a deterrent to our economic system. So there's a lot of discussion and debate. And if you do a search on trickle-down economics, which that is a negative buzzword, by the way. I mean, I did that for a reason. You're going to find all sorts of stuff on the internet that are going to say it doesn't work, it's ridiculous, it's just for the rich, it's just for the corporations. But we're going to look at some of this stuff and kind of talk about and analyze if that's true or not as we get into this financial podcast today. Episode 20. So, let's first throw out some different phrases that some of you guys have heard. We've heard of, they were just handed a silver spoon. Or we've heard that there's filthy rich. We know what class envy is when we look at people who have more, and it's like, it's just ridiculous. They have more. They have 10 bedrooms. That's 8 more than they need. What's important about that's ridiculous. Even like a fat cat, just this, just kind of laying back, just letting all the money come in. And then what we do is we say that they have all of this stuff, they're just taking it from the poor. In Kansas City, we have a street called Ward Parkway, and it's really close to the state line of Kansas and Missouri. And we have this area along Ward Parkway that has the largest houses in Kansas City, the richest of the rich. And if you go a little bit further east, you are now in some of the poorest areas in Kansas City. So it's what's fair about that? What's right about having, like, how can someone have so much and then other people have so little? And this is what we do. This is what educators do. This is what politicians do, is we start saying we have to have a victim. Well, you're poor because of them. That's your money right there. They're just there to screw you over. And so what we do is we play up this mentality with money. And what it does is it causes us to say it's not fair that they have. Okay, don't we need to reframe this. Okay, that's not a healthy way for you. It's actually not a healthy way for you to even view your own productivity and your own goals that you have in life. What's healthy is to say, we in this country want to be a part of a system that has opportunity for everyone, but our decisions impact that opportunity. Now, obviously, in just what I just said, you can have an instant reaction. Well, things aren't the same for everyone. Some people are born with more advantages than others. That's 100% true. But you don't want to make it an excuse. So let's say this. Let's say that my mom and dad went to college, okay? And they graduated from college and whatever, say they're just middle class America. I have an advantage as a child of those parents that my parents experienced and went through college in terms of my potential ability to make money. I have one up on another person whose parents didn't go to college. And now I'm not talking about right now who has more money, because we all know you don't have to go to college to make money. You don't have to go to college to start your own business or to be successful. And that doesn't mean you're necessarily smarter if you do go to college. So I'm making sure we're clear about that. But there are advantages. When I am successful, when I reach a certain status from a financial standpoint, then there's a greater chance that there will be inherent benefits my children will have. So all of that is okay. What we don't want to do is we don't want to teach and tell children that you're screwed over in America, that these rich people are there to stick it to you every chance you get, and we need to do things to take their money because it's not fair. It's not fair. That phrase that's going to keep coming about. Look, here's the deal. If I'm wealthy, how I achieved my wealth, what I did in my life to get there, even if there is a loose connection to my family, which there probably is, I did it. I made decisions in my life. I did certain things to get to a particular place for me to have that opportunity. When we say that the American dream to children is a joke, when we say that opportunity is different for all people, which is true, but if you live in that place, you're not going to get out of that place. What we want is we want people to see their life and the chances that they have, regardless of gender, regardless of race, regardless of how long their parents lived in the United States. They need to view America as this is a place of opportunity. And the choices I make matter. The decisions, how hard I decide to work matters. And even if, for instance, whatever I achieve as a man, my children and their children are going to have these opportunities. And generational, we are going to get better. We are going to have more opportunity. But it does come down to the individual and the choices they make. And unfortunately, we have politicians that want to brainwash these people and say, you can't because of that. You're not going to because of that. They're wealthy and they're not going to let these things happen. They have to control their money and control their power. And part of that is to keep you down. If you believe that, it's not going to be good for you. And the people that say that should be punished, not literally punished, but they're doing a disservice to people to kind of play up that mentality. So let me take a break and kind of tell you a story. So let's take a wealthy subdivision in the Kansas City area, which is what I'm familiar with, and some of you are as well. Hallbrook. Hallbrook has anybody who lives in Hallbrook is wealthy to anybody's standard. Okay, so let's say that it's 2:00 on a Wednesday afternoon in the Hallbrook subdivision. And let's take a field trip and let's see what we would see in this subdivision. So we're driving around. Let's take notes. I see 5 different lawn companies. I see sprinklers being adjusted by the sprinkler company. The pool people are cleaning the pool. The AC people are servicing the AC. There's someone taking care of their interior plants, because all plants are important. The jobs and the things that are going on within the Hallbrook any day of the week, not just Wednesday, 5 days a week. It doesn't matter. You're going to see work trucks. You're going to see electricians. You're going to see plumbers. You're seeing all of these people. And guess what? They have jobs because there's rich people that are paying them to do all sorts of things. If we don't understand how money works when people spend it, and it doesn't matter who spend it. People who have more money spend more money. When they spend money, people like me, people like you are fighting to say, what can I do to get that money? It's out there. And then guess what? All of those business owners and those companies that then hire other people, that money is trickling down through the entity of multiple businesses when people spend money. So I can spend my time trying to make people hate rich people and build up this whole class envy thing of why it's not fair and why it's not that. How about you spend your time and your energy and your resources on how to get their money? That'd be a much wiser way to go. How do I get someone else's money legally, fairly, with my intellect, with my work ethic, because it's out there? That's trickle-down economics. Instead of making excuses and complaining, do something about it. And you might fail sometimes, and it may not always work, and you may not have as much as you want. But this is the American dream. This is what people fight for. And yes, there have been people that have been excluded from having a fair chance at the American dream through racism, through sexism over the years. It's detestable. It's not something anyone whoever the people in government and the entities that did that, it's an egregious crime against humanity, but it's not an excuse. And we're not going to live and rest in those situations. Let me give you another example. You tell me who you'd rather trust. And I know what your answer is going to be. It's like C, none of the above. Who are you going to trust, the rich or government? And they're like, well, none. That's all. Okay, let's just think about this for a second. So what's the government doing? The government's saying that the rich and these corporations don't pay enough taxes, right? And they're saying, we know we're going to take their money, the money they earned, their hard-earned money, and we're going to give money to where it's needed. Okay, so first of all, the government sucks at that. The government is not good at taking other people's money and finding value for that dollar. So, for example, let's take a charity, any charity, Red Cross, Salvation Army, Bishop Sullivan Center, any group that is taking money and helping the poor. Those nonprofit agencies, almost to a T, when you give to them and then they go to help, dollar for dollar, they're getting more value for that. When we trust the government with our money, they are not good at budgets. They are not good. They love saying all the things they're going to do with our money. Don't you understand why? To get elected. You don't think you think it's just because of the goodness in their hearts every single time? I'm not judging all politicians to say their motives are wrong. I know many of their motives are good. But when a politician is saying, we're going to take these people's money to give to this, that's a value judgment. I trust the rich person more than I trust the government, personally. And here's the reason why. America is considered still a wealthy or the wealthiest nation. America, when it comes to donating to causes all across the world, all across our country, we are by far the most generous group of people. We are donating, whether it's through our churches or through private organizations. We as Americans are a giving people. Rich people, guess what? I know goes against your narrative. Rich people are extremely generous with the money that they give to help people who need it. Athletes, whether it's the athletes, the musicians, and those people, or whether it's just simply the business owners that may do it more anonymously. I trust that. I also trust that business owners, you know what they do? They hire people. They start companies. They invest in other people's companies. This is how the world works. When the government has their hands in all of this stuff, number one, it's for votes. Number two, it's not efficient or effective most of the time. And it comes with a certain power grab. I trust that a rich person who wants to grow these companies and make all of this money, that the money that they're generating, the pie grows. You know, some people think that the pie is a stagnant piece. So if I have this big of a piece of a pie, and then the slice gets bigger, then somebody else grows smaller. It's actually not how capitalism works. What capitalism does is it creates more opportunity. The pie gets bigger. More people can have access to it. This is why we have to protect at all levels against this whole idea that the evil rich, the rich aren't evil. It's also about freedom. The rich have a choice to do what they want with the money that they make. So they can be selfish if they want. They can be stingy at what they want. But the wonderful thing about rich people is they're also usually smart enough to know, I want more of it. Why do you think these, athletes that made all this money then go into all of these different business ventures? I'm investing here. I'm investing here. They're growing their money. That's what they're doing. When you have this money, you want it to grow and expand. And the way you do that are through companies. What do those companies do? They hire. Everybody becomes a part of it. Not everybody's going to be rich. And we're always going to have people that are poor. But the idea of trickle-down economics and the way that it's attacked is malicious and it's a fallacy. To just simply say that, even look at the way people talk about corporations. When you hear the word corporation, you think negative, because every single thing that comes out about a corporation is negative. So the tax break that a corporation gets is the same tax break a small business owner gets. Why would it be different? They get the exact same thing. You can work a couple of jobs and have a lemonade stand that you try to make money off of, and if that's your second job, you get a tax break for doing that. The rules are applied the same. And again, what do corporations do? Corporations hire employees who buy houses, who install sprinkler systems in their house, who paint their houses and hire people to do those things. Corporations aren't the enemy. Corporations employ thousands and thousands of people, most of the time with benefits, with insurance, with ways in which they can go about and live their everyday life. And just think of the negativity. Even if you're a high school or college person, you tell me how many times capitalism is brought up in a positive light. I'm telling you, folks, it's not. And that's a sad part, because kids are growing up. Even when I was a teacher, I was shocked at how many kids had no clue about how money works now, and they only viewed capitalism as this evil type of empire that's just keeping people poor. Hey, guess what? There's always going to be poor people, and socialism and poor people are an actual thing. And if the difference with me is, I am not going to look at the government to do anything for me. They're supposed to protect. I don't need their money. I don't need their help. Generally speaking, I don't need their assistance. I want to create my own world and my own life. That's freedom. Freedom comes from that. That is why when I say what's wrong with trickle-down economics, nothing. Money does filter down. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's going to be equal. That's the whole idea. There are going to be levels, and the level that you find yourself on may not be where you want. But if you're going to be an excuse maker, if you're going to find ways that, well, I just can't, or you're lazy, you make excuses every single time, guess what? There's places for you. There's always someone who needs someone to flip a burger. So that's fine. If that's what you want to do, there's always someone hiring to make sure that the fries are well done. No knock against it. It's just a reality. But if you don't want that, if there's something, another way you view your life, then there's opportunities for you. For everyone, there's opportunities. And unfortunately, educators aren't getting this message out. And that's a crime to these kids. The kids need to be motivated. Kids need to know they have a chance. Sometimes they get that from their parents. Sometimes they don't. And the kids that don't get it from their parents, guess what? They just got knocked down a rung. They're going to have to go one extra step. A mom and a dad that are, breathe confidence in their kids. You can do this. That are the allies for them. I don't care if they're a poor, middle class, or rich family. Those kids have an advantage. This is life. We're not all dealt the same hand, but we all have a hand, and we all can make choices to do something about it. And when you make a decision to do something about it, regardless of where you end up on the financial spectrum, the more you do, you're only over your legacy and the generations that carry your last name, you're giving them a greater opportunity to do more. So it may not even necessarily be just about you, but it is about how you're affecting and changing potentially the people that are going to come into this world that you're going to love more than anything, but you just haven't met yet. And that's why that message is so important for kids and why it needs to get out there. My next podcast episode, I'm going to actually talk a little bit more about that. Okay, let's look at our parenting advice, and let's look at our song today. The song today is a little bit different. A lot of times when I was thinking about different songs, a lot of it's, kind of songs more of the mentality that money doesn't buy you happiness, love and your soul and the person you are, which is good. That's all good. That's all great. Money does help though. But I found a song by Donna Summer, which you've all heard of. She works hard for the money, and just I liked it because of just the mentality of people working hard for what they want. And I am going to work harder than you. I am going to be more efficient than you. And we look at life in a competitive type environment, it can get something up in us to kind of fight harder for it. And so I just like the mentality of that song. I think the whole song is probably more of like, hey man, she worked hard for this. Don't come and mess it up. Don't come and take from her, which of course is a cruddy way for anybody to be. Okay. So the parenting advice I would give is when you teach capitalism, which is a beautiful word, when you teach capitalism to children, you want to, as a parent, mirror the real world. So for instance, you have, let's say there's 4 jobs for your 10-year-old. Okay. You're going to vacuum the floor. You're going to take the trash out. You're going to do dishes, and you're going to dust the furniture. Okay. Now you may say one of those jobs you're doing because you live here. 2 of those jobs, if you do them well and on time without me asking, you will receive a paycheck. Whatever that, it's called allowance, whatever that is. This last job is only if you want extra money. So it's optional if you dust it, but if you dust it once a week, I'm going to pay you an extra $5 or whatever you decide. And just let the kid decide and see what happens. Money is a motivator and not a bad motivator. It can be. Greed is a thing, but we have checks and balances within our system to offset that. We have things. We need people that want money, because when people want money, they create other things for other people. And so I just think for your kids, that getting that work ethic going, and you do this, you earn this. Like, life is a sum game at times, and you have to understand how that works. Sometimes kids don't care about allowance or money because they're just handed everything to them, and you don't want that either. And it doesn't matter if you're poor, middle class, or rich. Kids can be handed too much without having to work for it, regardless of your social status. So anyway, folks, that kind of ties up, kind of brings us to a conclusion of episode 20. I hope you liked it. I hope you know and understand the beauty of the free market and the freedom that comes from that and enables us to do the most with our life. Hope you have a great day. Again, check it out. Check me out on YouTube. Tell your kids to follow me on TikTok so they can get some of this great information. Appreciate you watching. Thank you and have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.
Thank you so much for listening. Let's keep the conversation going. You can reach out on Ben's website, www.benkeechshow.com, or on social media to chat. And please remember to subscribe so that you never miss an episode.